Yeah, it's just 2 on 1.
Okay. The little thing said recording in progress, so I think that means we're good. So I'll go ahead and open it up for Anne or for anyone else who is watching us. We have Mackenzie McBride here today. Mackenzie works with the DNR as the operations manager for Snapshot Wisconsin, which is a citizen science program based out of here in Wisconsin to help monitor wildlife populations across the state. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about that project and the platform that is hosted on Zooniverse to share a new opportunity with us for how we can engage in conservation just from our own homes even. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Mackenzie. Mackenzie, take it away.
Great, thanks, Paul. Well, again, my name is Mackenzie McBride. I'm the operations manager for the project. So yeah, we're gonna go over what Snapshot is, how it works, and how you can get involved through Zooniverse, and how all our data is being used. So Snapshot is a community science project for monitoring wildlife through a statewide network of trail cameras. We partner with volunteers across the state to deploy and maintain the trail cameras for us, and then the photos are transformed into usable data that supports wildlife management decisions. So we have two main goals that Snapshot sets out to achieve. The first being that we provide data to support management decisions, but we also believe it's a great opportunity for folks to get engaged with natural resources of the state, and for the public to collaborate with the department itself. So to provide an overview of the project, so the Snapshot project launched statewide in 2018. We did have some trail cameras deployed before that, but it was just in certain counties, so we officially went statewide in 2018. The map that you see on the right shows our currently occupied survey blocks. Wisconsin for the project is divided into 6,000 survey blocks that are about 3 square miles in size. So the orange blocks that you see is where volunteers currently host trail cameras. And then across the state, we have 1,956 volunteers, and those volunteers help us host over 2,000 trail cameras. And since the project began, we've collected over 80 million photos, and I think I noticed the number this morning that I think we're actually getting closer to 90 million currently.
Wow. Is that of wildlife, or is that just all photos, whether wildlife's in it or not?
Good question. It does account for blank images, but
Okay.
yeah.
A lot of pictures.
So there are a couple ways to participate with Snapshot, but it does start with the camera host. So volunteers can sign up to host a trail camera in unclaimed survey blocks. So if you were to go online to our website, I'm going to provide directions on how to get to our DNR webpage at the very end of the presentation. But if you were to use that to sign up to host a trail camera, you would see a map similar to what you see on the right. Again, the orange is where someone currently hosts a trail camera, but the non-orange blocks are areas where you could choose to host a trail camera, and that could be on your private property or on public property. So state parks, county parks, there's a lot of options there. We provide all the equipment that volunteers need, so there's no cost to participate in the program. We provide the trail cameras, batteries, SD cards. We provide the shipping costs as well. And the camera hosts, the requirements to be involved is to deploy and maintain the camera for at least a year. And then every few months, we ask that they swap the SD cards and batteries, and then to upload the photos. So After checking the trail camera and uploading the photos, the camera hosts do get the first opportunity to classify the images or identify the wildlife that's seen in each image. So they'll get an idea of what the camera is capturing and get an idea of what is seen on their property or on the public space that they chose to deploy the camera. And although they do get the first opportunity to classify the images, they don't necessarily always have the time to do so. There's trail cameras that, within those 3 months, they capture thousands and thousands of images, so it can be difficult for one person to classify. And also, some images can just be tricky to classify, whether they're kind of blurry, maybe the animal's way in the back. Maybe it can be difficult species to identify, whether that's a fisher versus a mink, a wolf versus coyote. So all our photos get sent to Zooniverse to get an additional set of eyes on them to help with classification. So this is what you'd see if you were to go to the Snapshot Wisconsin Zooniverse page. You could use the URL at the bottom or just type it into your URL slot. Or you could go through our DNR webpage as well to get to our Zooniverse page. And I apologize, Anne, if you know a bit about Zooniverse already, but just in case that you don't, Zooniverse is a crowdsourcing website where people from across the globe can contribute to community science projects. So there's more projects on Zooniverse than just Snapshot.
Okay.
Again, many of the photos that our trail cameras capture get sent to Zooniverse to be classified by the public. On our Zooniverse page, we've had volunteers around the world donate over 36,000 hours to classifying millions of our photos. We do have some users that are also camera hosts, but otherwise anyone can participate. In this map on the left highlights the countries that we've had folks classify from. So I think that's always neat to see just how, these trail camera images are being seen around the world that were captured in Wisconsin.
So is it kind of like Wikipedia, where somebody posts a picture and says, I think it's a cougar, but kind of anybody around the world can jump in and correct that? Or
Yeah, so yeah, I'll get into how the classification works, but
okay.
yeah, there's multiple users can classify an image, and folks can help out with classifications as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So Snapshot in particular, we think this is a great way for beginners to get into classifying wildlife if they don't really have a background in that before, or maybe you do have experience working with wildlife and you just want to kind of sharpen those skills and get into it again. So there's a lot of ways, or many age groups and experience levels can participate in Snapshot. So let's get into what you can do when logging into Snapshot on Zooniverse to begin classifying. So you would click on the top right-hand button to go to classify. So then that would bring you to this classification page. You would get a series of 3 photos. And this is what we would call a trigger. So once a critter moves across the trail camera, it's triggered and it takes a series of 3 photos. So that's what you'd see on the classification page. You
Gotcha.
also get a list of Wisconsin wildlife on the right-hand page to choose from. So let's say I'm pretty confident that it's a turkey. You would check turkey on the classification page for a list. And we have a lot of ways that you can check, are are we sure that this is a turkey, right? So we get a reference photo, we get a description, and if you are feeling confident that it is indeed a turkey, we ask that you say how many young are in the photo, if there are some, and then how many adults are seen in each photo. And we do have other ways that you can check to see if you're confident in your choice. A lot of the animals have what you see under the description. It says often confused with. So in this instance, maybe this turkey photo isn't as clear as the one we're seeing. You could click on the grouse, often confused with grouse, and you get a reference photo for a grouse and a description of that, so you can double check that you still feel confident in it. And we do also, aside from the reference photos that you'll see when you classify, we also have a field guide available that has all the species listed from canids to cats. On those, throughout the field guide, you'll see more reference photos, you'll see descriptions, you'll see even comparison of photos between night versus day. We have descriptions of, distinguishing characteristics that you might see at night. So plenty of resources available if you're a beginner getting into classifying, or if you just aren't sure when going through the classification. So yeah, and you're asking a little bit how the classifications work. Each photo is classified by multiple users, so this allows us to reach a consensus on what is seen in each photo. So let's say 5 people say this is a turkey, right? We are then very confident that a turkey is in this photo. But if a photo doesn't reach a consensus, maybe one person thinks it's a turkey, one person thinks it's a grouse, other people aren't sure, and they're just saying it's some sort of bird species, it'll be sent through additional classification. It goes to internal experts, which is myself, along with volunteer management. We further classify the photos that don't reach a consensus.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So before I jump into how all this data is used, not only is Zooniverse a really great way to see neat photos of wildlife, not only are you contributing to data used for to support wildlife management, it's also a good way to interact with others that might have the same interest as you. So while you're classifying on your particular photo, you could also start a discussion about that photo. It has the option to start a conversation about it. Another way you can interact with others is by going to, so instead of clicking on the classify, you'd go to talk, and that would take you to like a talk board. You'll see the photos people are talking about, whether it's interesting, they're starting a discussion on like the animal behavior happens a lot. So you can jump into any conversation that you might want to. It's also a great way to ask for help on what you're seeing in the image. So we do have those resources, but another easy way to get some help is to comment #WhatIs. It's a way to notify other volunteers, moderators. We have moderators that help out on the talk boards, and research staff like myself will be on the talk boards too. And so if the #WhatIs is used, then we often jump in to help out with classification. So in this instance, we had a moderator jump in to help out with that classification of a badger. Another fun way that people interact on the talk boards is by nominating photos for a super snap. So this can be photos that you just think are really beautiful, right? Especially like with fall colors, or if there's a lot of snowfall, they can be really cool to look at. So many users nominate photos for Super Snap, and once a month, our staff goes through those Super Snaps and highlights those on our blog, which is also available through Zooniverse. Another thing I want to point out, I'm not sure if maybe if there's if y'all have kids or know of anyone that needs like volunteer hours, Zooniverse can be a great way to get those hours. So if you're classifying on Snapshot, they have a certificate that can be created that shows the number of hours that you've been spending on Snapshot, how many classifications you've made. If for any reason the student needs a more personalized certificate, they could also reach out to us, and we have a template ready to go to help out with certifying those hours.
That's great. How do you, if you just want to look at the photos, how do you get to that? Like, just, did I miss
Yeah,
that?
good question. I'm gonna hop back a little bit. So I don't really have a slide for it exactly, but
Right,
you
right.
can go to the talk at the top of the screen, and there's like a search bar where you could type in, the species that you want to see, or you could there's popular tags where people have selected that it's like a bear, for instance, so you could look through all the bear
Okay,
photos.
got you. So it's in that talk one.
Yep. So getting into how the classifications are used. The classifications that are made through the camera hosts and the volunteers on Zooniverse are transformed into usable data that supports wildlife management decisions. In total, the data that is produced is actively being used in decision making for 13 different species, with more applications in development by our research scientists.
Mm-hmm.
A few specific examples of how Snapshot is used, to just name a few quickly, is that Snapshot data is used to track 10 different furbearer species. So red fox, bobcat, just to name a couple. But Snapshot data, along with other data sources, is provided to the Furbearer Advisory Committee to help with decision making to determine harvest quotas for the upcoming year. Another big contribution for the Snapshot data is fawn to doe ratio. So since the project began, this has been a big input from our data, just because we get so many deer photos. About 2/3 of our photos are deer.
Mm-hmm.
And so since 2017, research scientists have utilized the Snapshot data to estimate deer fawn to doe ratios. So estimating how many individuals are added to the population each year. So these results get sent to the county deer advisory councils for consideration when making future harvest quotas. And then similarly, our data is also used to track poult to hen ratios. So they combine turkey wing tags and GPS trackers and compared to the snapshot photos to help with understanding habitat preference and recruitment metrics as well.
So this information is used a lot for the DNR for like hunting guidelines and things like that.
Yep, exactly. Our data has also contributed to multiple scientific research publications. So these publications are available on our website. Again, I'll show you how to get there at the end of the presentation, but these publications are either from our research scientists or grad or PhD students have also published some of these papers. So they're utilizing the snapshot data in their research questions. So we do have all of the publications listed. We have links to them, but they do cost money to access them in some cases. So with all the papers, we also provide key findings for each one for the publication. Another resource where you could see all our data really is our data dashboard. Again, this is provided on our website, or you could type in datadashboard.snapshotwisconsin.org to get to it. This is a tool designed to help visualize all our data, and it's free to everyone. So regardless of hosting a trail camera or being a part of Zooniverse, you could use this resource. You can choose from 22 different species on the left-hand side. You can look at the number of detections per county for each species. You can look at the number of detections throughout the month and the year. So I think it's a really great resource if you're just curious on where certain species are seen throughout the state. This is also a really great tool that we have educators use it in their classroom. We've gotten feedback where some teachers use it where they'll assign a species to a student, and it's they have to like research their species using the data dashboard. So I really think it's great resource for any age, also related to Zooniverse. For the photos that you're classifying, you get the, I forgot to mention earlier, but for each photo, you are able to see the county that the photo was taken in. So if you're trying to figure out what you're seeing in an image, looking at the data dashboard can be useful because you're able to see, you know, how often or where in the state, say, bear have been most detected.
Yeah, that's a really cool tool.
Yeah, and we do update this each year. So currently it has data through 2023, and then once we're able to process all the 2024 data, we'll update that to the dashboard. Then a final contribution that I wanted to mention was that Snapshot is helpful with rare species monitoring throughout the state. So this means cougar, whooping crane, marten, and moose. And these the dates in the counties listed are our most recent detections. And the big reason, I mean, it's great getting these rare species photos, but the reason I wanted to mention it was because the cougar photo that we got in Marinette County, our most recent one, we actually didn't know we got that photo until it made its way to Zooniverse. And I mean, our team is always excited to get a rare species, but I thought it was really neat that the Zooniverse users were the first ones to see that, and they were able to notify us that we got it. And with that, I can answer any questions that you might have. At the bottom of the page, you can get to our the Snapshot Wisconsin DNR page by going to dnr.wi.gov and search for the keyword Snapshot Wisconsin. And as I was talking, and along with Zooniverse, if you're just wanting to see photos on our DNR webpage, we also have what we call the photo library, and you can see all our favorite photos essentially. So if you're just
it's very cool. Thank you for taking me through it. I did have a couple of questions just back to that. I might have missed it at the beginning, but it's part of the DNR, so it's all funded by the DNR and people that work there are employed by the DNR.
Yep, exactly. Our project is funded through the Pittman-Robertson Act, so you know, hunting licenses contribute to our project.
Got you. And then is it just the photo cam or the you know, trail cameras that can do photos, or like if I saw a whooping crane in my yard, can I take a picture and upload it, or is it just from the trail cams?
Our project would just be through our trail cameras. They're set up very specifically for our project, but
Mhm.
if you were to want to report that observation, there's not through our project, but there's a wildlife observation report that you could find on the DNR webpage, and you could submit that observation through there.
Got you. Okay. And then the last question I had is, how are you working with any other the land trusts in Wisconsin, or is there any partnerships that you have so far? I haven't heard yet, Paul, kind of the thinking on how you're thinking of integrating this in with us, but I'm guessing it's kind of just an opportunity, for people to get more involved in conservation and kind of
Well, on our
wilderness.
end of things, we actually do have one camera, snapshot camera already
Oh,
out
on
at
the
our
Gilson
Gilson Creek
property,
Preserve.
right? Okay, that's right.
Volunteer set up a few years ago. I haven't actually gotten in touch with the volunteer yet, but I'm planning on reaching
Okay.
back out with them and getting connected.
Yeah.
We're recently approved to put a camera out on Strobe. Once a camera is available, we'll be able to put one out on Strobe. So
Oh,
we'll be able
great.
to use that for monitoring the Strobe property and sharing some of the data from there. I
Okay.
think will be particularly interesting since Strobe is, undergoing a lot of changes at the moment
Right.
with thermal dashboard and things. So
Right. Right.
bit of a fluctuation state, good to keep an eye on it for our end and for overall data. And also hoping to try to make some use of this as just an engagement tool to provide
Right.
people with a way to engage in conservation, again, especially during winter months or for people
Yeah.
that don't want to go outside as much. The easy way to do it, right from your home, the library, any other sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I know. I'm
movie
looking
area.
forward to kind of exploring the website just to see.
Yeah.
So is that primarily is kind of using land trusts in their websites to, or their properties to kind of get more trail cams out there? Not that you need a lot more, but
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we have partnered with, county parks, certain state parks where educators are trying to implement that in their programming. So,
yeah,
yeah, we're always like looking for opportunities to, collaborate with getting these cameras on public property. Yeah.
cool. The last question I had is, can you search by trail cam? Like, could I go out and search by Gilson Creek camera to see what that camera specifically is getting?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get it a lot. Unfortunately, no. Just because
We have so many.
we keep the camera locations and the photos that you see at the county level,
Okay.
just for many of our trail cameras are on folks' private property. So
Mm,
yeah, just
yeah,
for privacy purposes, we have
privacy
to keep it at
purposes.
the
Yeah,
county.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going out and looking around.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Neat tool.
yeah, thanks for joining. And if you do have any follow-up questions while you're starting to explore Zooniverse or, our DNR webpage, you could reach us at our email address there at the
Okay,
bottom.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for setting this up,
Yeah.
Paul.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mackenzie,
Yeah.
and hope you both have a good rest of your day.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.